Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video, we're going to show you how to change out the Samsung dryer drum support roller assembly. It's going to be a very easy repair, and it should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the new drum support roller assembly. The drum support roller assembly is what supports the drum inside the dryer. The main reason you'd be changing it out is if the bearing or the shaft is starting to go bad and you're getting a squeaking noise, or the bearing has totally failed and it sounds like a pair of tennis shoes inside the dryer. In order to get to the part, we have to take the dryer apart, so we're going to use our Phillips screwdriver and go around back to remove the screws. Now that we have the screws out, we can remove the top. All you have to do is pull the top back, so a couple inches so it gets free of the brackets, and then you can lift it off and set it aside. Now that we have the top off, we can take the control panel off. There's a few locking tabs across the back. We're going to lift up on them to release them, and then lift the panel forward. Once you have the control panel released, we can pull it out a little bit so we can disconnect the wire harness. All you have to do is press on this locking tab and pull the two ends apart. Once you have it disconnected, we can set the control panel aside. We can open up the dryer door, and we need to remove these two screws at the bottom. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to take them out. Now that we have those two screws removed, we can close the dryer door and remove the upper four screws. Once you have the four screws out, we can take the front panel off. You may have to open up the door and lift the front panel a little bit so it comes off these two little locking tabs. Once you have those free, you can let it drop down a little bit. We can close the door again and drop it down enough so we can disconnect the wire harness for the door switch. There's no locking tab or anything on this one, so all you have to do is pull it off and let it set out of the way. Once you have that disconnected, we can lift the front panel off the three mounting brackets on the bottom. With the front panel off, now we can remove this panel that holds the control panel. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver and take the screws out. Now that we have all the screws that hold the support panel in, we have to get ready to take it out. First thing we're going to do is disconnect the wiring harness from the light bulb socket. All you have to do is reach down and pull it off. And then we have to take it out of the little retainer. So you can just twist these and release these. Once you have them open, you can just pull the wire harness out. Now we're going to lift the panel off so we can take the ones off from the back side. Now that we have the panel rotated forward a little bit, we can see that there's these four connectors. All we're going to do is untwist them so we can take the wire harnesses out. Once you have all of them disconnected, we can pull the front panel off. And then we're going to take the wire harness and drape it over the side of the machine so it's out of the way. In order to remove the bulkhead on the bottom of the dryer, we have to remove this one screw with the Phillips screwdriver from the blower housing. And then we have to disconnect the wire harness connector for the moisture sensor. And that's on the other side. All you have to do is press this locking tab and separate the two connectors. Once you have those disconnected, we're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to remove these four screws that hold the bulkhead to the cabinet. Now that we have everything disconnected from the bulkhead, we can lift it off the cabinet. There's a tab on each bracket that we have to lift up and pull out. Once you have the bulkhead out, we have access to the two front drum support rollers. If these are the ones you're changing, you can just lay the bulkhead down now and change them out. If you have to do the ones in the rear, you have to take the drum and the rear bulkhead out, and we'll show you how to do that now. Now that we have the bulkhead out of the way, we can reach in underneath the drum on each side. We're going to grab the idler pulley and pull it towards the outside of the dryer and release the tension on the belt so we can take it off the pulleys. Now that we have the belt taken off the pulleys, we can use it to guide the drum assembly out of the dryer. All you have to do is lift up on it so we can guide the drum through these little cutouts. The two drum support roller assemblies are on the back bulkhead, and we have to take out the bulkhead in order to change them. First thing we're going to do is remove the heater element so we can take the bulkhead out. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver and remove this screw. And then we can lift up the heater assembly and pull it out of the back. You don't have to pull it all the way out of the dryer. You can just set it down so it's out of the way. Next, we have to remove this water line from the water valve that goes up to the steam sprayer. It's located on the left side of the dryer in the back. You might get a little bit of water coming out of it, so we're going to throw a towel down just so it doesn't get on the wire harnesses. Then we're going to remove this little locking tab. Samsung puts these on here so the hoses can't slip out. Make sure you don't lose that. And then we're going to take a small wrench, maybe like a 3/8, something that'll fit over this water line. We're going to use it to push in this collar to release the locking tabs, and then using your other hand, you can carefully pull the water line out of the valve. Now that we have the water line disconnected from the valve, we can go around the back and continue taking the bulkhead out. Right above the water valve on the left-hand side, there's a little wire harness holder that we have to take out. All you have to do is untwist it and pull the wire harness out. Now that we're on the back side of the dryer, we can use our Phillips screwdriver and remove the 6 screws that hold the bulkhead on. Now that we have all the screws out, we can lift the rear bulkhead off its mounting tabs. All you have to do is lift it up about an inch or so. Make sure they're off the tabs and pull it out the front of the dryer. Make sure you don't hit the control board or the element. And once you have it out, you can set it aside. Here we have the two bulkheads together, so we can show you all 4 of the drum support roller assemblies. They're all pretty much changed out the same way. This one has a bracket that you have to remember to put back in. To remove this one, because the lint filter duct is right behind it, you're going to have to reach in with a wrench and take the nut off instead of a socket. On the front side of the shafts, you have to use an 8mm to hold it while you loosen the back nut. To get the drum support roller assembly off, we're going to use our 17mm socket on the back side, and we're going to hold it with our 8mm up on the front and take it off. Once you have it busted loose, you can just turn it with your hand and take it all the way out. Once you have the nut off, make sure you grab the nut and the washers. You don't want to lose those. You have to reuse them. You can just pull the assembly out so we can put the new one in. Here's the old drum support roller assembly next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. To put the new drum support roller assembly in, we're going to put a washer down first and then set the new assembly in the hole. And then on the back side, we're going to put our washer on and start the nut so we can tighten it down. Once you have the nut lined up, you can just spin the shaft with your hand until it starts to tighten down. And then we can grab our socket, the 17mm socket, and our 8mm wrench again, and we're going to hold this while we tighten it down. Once you have the nut tightened down, you can go ahead and change any of the others that need to be changed, and then we can put the dryer back together. Now we can put the rear bulkhead in. You want to very carefully feed it through the dryer cabinet and make sure you don't hit anything. Once you have it in here, we're going to hook this side on first, and then on the other side you may have to lift this wire harness out of the way and then hook the tab on. Once you have it on and supported, we can reconnect this wire tie All you have to do is put this wire harness through it and twist it back together. Now that you have the bulkhead mounted, we can use the Phillips screwdriver and put the screws in to hold it in place. Now that we have the rear bulkhead in, we can reattach the water line to the valve. You want to make sure we put that little clip back in. It goes right underneath this blue collar. All you have to do is slide it up and push it in place so it locks. Once you have that in there, you can take your water supply line and very carefully push it into the water valve. You want to make sure it goes past the O-ring and seats all the way in the valve so you get a good seal. Should go up to that red dot. If you want to, you can push against the valve to make sure you get a good seat. Once you have it in there and you're sure you got a good seal, we can put the rest of the dryer back together. Now we can put the heater element back in. You want to very carefully lift it up and line up those two tabs in the back. Make sure your wire harness isn't caught on anything. Once you have those tabs lined up, you can push it back into place and set it down. And there's a little tab up here on the front that you got to make sure it goes into the bracket. And then we can use a Phillips screwdriver and put the screw in the front. Now we can put the drum back in the dryer. You want to make sure that the pink is towards the back, the belt is centered in the drum. Then you can carefully use the belt to lift the drum up and guide it back into the dryer. Once you have the drum on the rear rollers, you can set it down and let the belt go. You want to make sure that the grooves are against the drum, so when you route it through the pulley, it's routed properly. We can reach in and route the belt through the pulleys. Same thing as before, we're going to grab the idler pulley and pull it over towards the outside of the machine. Then we can make a loop with the belt and put it around the pulleys. Now we can put the front bulkhead back on. We're going to hook in these two tabs on the left side of the dryer. Once you have those in, you may have to lift up on the drum a little bit so the drum goes over the rollers. Once you have it in place, we can lift up the tabs on the other side and put them in. Now that we have the bulkhead back in place, we can use our Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in. Now that we have the bulkhead mounted, we can reattach all the wires. On the right side of the dryer, at the bottom, we're going to reattach the wire harness for the moisture sensor. All you have to do is plug them back together and make sure you get a good connection. Now we can come up on the left side and grab the main wiring harness that went across the front, and we're going to put them through the clips across the front of the bulkhead. All you have to do is put them in and twist them. Remember to leave your door switch kind of hanging in the middle. Once you have that in place, we can reconnect the wire harness to the light socket. You can't mess this one up. It's a 1/4 inch on one side and 3/16 on the other. So all you have to do is line it up and push it on so you get a good connection. This connector is for the control panel, so we'll connect that later. With the wires properly routed, we can put the support bracket back on. We're going to line it up with the screw holes, and we have to attach the wire harnesses to these holders. So we're going to lift it up a little bit and put those on before we put the screws in. All you have to do is grab the wire harnesses and put them onto the holders and twist them so they lock in place. Once you have that one in place, we can do the one for the control board. And then you want to make sure that this little connector goes out to the front so we can reconnect it in a minute. And then we can rotate the support bracket down into place. There's a couple locking tabs on each end. You want to make sure those go into the frame holes. Once you have it in, we can go around with our Phillips screwdriver and put the screws in. You may have to lift up the control board cover on this one to get the holes to line up. With the support bracket back in place, we can put the front panel on. To put the front panel back on, all we have to do is set it onto the 3 brackets at the bottom of the dryer and rotate it up. You want to stop a couple inches away from the bulkhead so we can grab the door switch wiring harness and plug it in. There's no locking tab or anything on this one, but make sure that this little notch here lines up with that notch. And all you have to do is push it together to get a good connection. And then we can push the panel up the rest of the way. And you want to push it up so these locking tabs hold it in place. Once you're sure it won't fall off, we can grab our Phillips screwdriver and put the 4 screws in across the top. Now that we have the top of the panel secure, we can open up the door and replace the 2 screws that hold the front panel onto the lint filter housing. Once you have those 2 in, we can close the dryer door, and then we can put the control panel back on. To put the control panel on, we're going to set it on top of the front panel so we can reach over and connect the wire harnesses that connect the control to the dryer. All you have to do is push them together so they lock into place. Make sure you get a good connection. And then we can lift the panel up. You want to make sure that these locking tabs right here go into these openings right here on the top of the panel. Once you have the tabs in place, we can rotate the control panel up and snap it onto the support bracket. Once you have it in place and it's secure, we can put the top back on. To put the top back on, we're going to set it down on top of the frame, and then we're going to push it forward so the lip right here goes underneath that bracket. Once you have it in and lined up, you can push it forward, and then we can use our Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in. Now that we have the top back on, we can plug the dryer back in and take it for a spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.